to go over soft tissue technique or scraping for biceps muscle belly, biceps tendon, and that front portion of the shoulder. So ideally, you want to be sitting where your arm can be supported. You need a little bit of lotion. Massage lotion is fine, cocoa butter, your regular body lotion will get the job done also, olive oil. All right, so put lotion on the tissue that I want to work. So biceps, muscle belly lives here. It does elbow flexion. It also does shoulder flexion. So we have a tendon at the elbow, muscle belly, and then we have two heads of the tendon that come up into our shoulder. So the short head comes up and dives in this way and actually attaches in here under my collarbone. The long head comes up the front of the shoulder and then dives into the joint under the acromion process. So this is typically the one, if you push around in here, you can feel that ropey tendon. And a lot of people, when they have that pinchy discomfort coming up into flexion or abduction, right there, it can be that that biceps tendon is inflamed and irritated. So I'm going to take my tool. This is my favorite shape, but the shape has very little to do with effectiveness and just preference for handhold. If you don't have an actual gua sha tool, the ring to a mason jar works really well also. So I'm going to start up at the top, and then I'm going to divide the front of my shoulder into 3 sections, and then I'm going to scrape down. It's like a little bit of a J motion, and then I'll move to the middle portion, and I'm going to do 3 to 5 passes, and then I'm going to catch the outside edge. I want my arm in a little bit of rotation. I want it open because that brings my biceps tendon more to the front, versus if I'm closed here, I've tucked that tendon in. So I'm going to make 3 passes over all of that tissue. And I'm going to pay attention to the texture of it. If part of it feels gritty versus feeling nice and smooth, that gritty texture is where there's probably a little bit of unhealthy tissue, and I'm going to want to focus a little bit more there. So after I make 3 passes at the tendon, I'm going to come down into the muscle belly. So these are going to be bigger. I'm still going to cut it into thirds. So that inside third, right down the middle, and then the outer third. And again, I'm going to make 3 passes. And you can see I'm starting to get a little bit of blood flow to the superficial tissue. It's starting to get a little pink. So once I've done that, now I'm going to reverse my direction and I'm going to go up. So now I'm going to pull, and it is going to feel different. We're hitting the fiber of that tissue differently. So same thing, I'm going to do about 3 strokes in each segment, and then I'm going to go through all of those segments 3 times. So you can see it's getting a little bit more pink. I can feel the warmth in that tissue as we've increased blood flow. And then I'm going to come back up to the tendon. So 3 strokes, 3 times through from inside to outside. And then what I want to finish with is a couple just broad strokes up and down, just to kind of soothe that tissue. And then I'm going to come in to my muscle belly, and I'm going to pinch it, and I'm going to feel for anywhere where there's more tension and or more tenderness, right? So I get a little bit of tenderness here versus lower down in the muscle belly. That's not uncomfortable. So I'm gonna come up to that spot where I feel a little bit of discomfort. It also feels a little more ropey to me. I'm gonna hold that pinch, and then I'm gonna move that muscle through its range of motion. So elbow back, shoulder back, and then forward. So I'm creating some internal friction because I'm moving that muscle under my pinch. So 3 to 5 times. And then just a couple broad strokes. I'm gonna work my way down the muscle belly, see if there's anywhere else that feels like there's increased tension, it feels more ropey, it feels more firm, and or there's discomfort. I prefer a pinch. You technically can smash also, but I prefer a pinch. So I'm gonna work my way down that muscle belly, and I can pick 2 to 4 different spots. I can come back to that first spot we did. It's a little bit tender still, it's not as bad. So I'm gonna do that one again. And then when I'm done, I want to assess the discomfort. The arm's going to feel a little bit more warm, the skin might feel a little bit sensitive, but I want to get an idea of the pain I started with, if the quality of that pain feels different, and then I'll also recheck my motion and see if it feels smoother, I can go further, and or I have less discomfort. If you want to add cupping, this would be an appropriate time to do that. You can go find our video on cupping. This would also be an appropriate time to do tape. Let's say I was doing this to warm my shoulder up before I go lift or do my sport. Doing some K-tape on that area would be appropriate also, and you can find that on our other videos.